I feel like it's been quite a while since we last had a proper juicy what's new from Hermes catch up, which isn't that surprising considering that Hermes doesn't really launch anything groundbreaking during the summer, but it's definitely no longer summer. It's so gray, gloomy, and dark outside that at not even 2 p.m., it feels like it's almost my bedtime. So I thought today is the perfect day for us to look at some of the latest and greatest Hermes bags that should be on shelves for fall winter. So if you need some inspiration for what new bags to put on your wish list, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching because let me tell you, most of these bags are actually very much worth looking into. I wasn't planning on mentioning this new launch in today's video just because we are going to be focusing on bags, but this morning I pulled out my signature fall winter fragrance. It's something that I go back to every single year. I have been going back to it since the first year it launched, which is Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. It is one of my most favorite fragrances of all time, but it is definitely my signature fall winter scent, which we're not here to talk about Tom Ford, but Hermes recently launched a new fragrance. So I thought if you're going to be stopping by Hermes to put in a wish for one of these bags, you might as well check out their latest fragrance launch, which is actually inspired by their iconic Bavaria leather. Now, if you're not familiar with Bavaria, it is one of Hermes's heritage leathers. And if you have no idea what heritage leather is, you're probably new to my channel, in which case, welcome. Hermes has different families of leathers. So they have regular leathers, which will include things like Epsom and Togo. They have exotic skins, which of course is things like alligator, the different types of croc, ostrich, and different types of lizard. And then they also have so-called heritage leathers, which are somewhere between regular leathers and exotic skins. These are leathers that Hermes has been using for decades in their saddle and harness making, and some of these leathers have been transferred to their SLGs and their leather handbags, Bavaria being one of them, which is actually one of the most expensive non-exotic leathers that Hermes offers. Bavaria is a really beautiful, hardy, thick, hard-wearing, heavy leather that is known for developing something called patina, which doesn't really jeopardize the integrity of the leather, but it does mean that the leather will change color, texture, and also finish because it darkens as time goes on. And Bavaria is known for having a really sort of earthy, almost animalic scent, and that's what this new fragrance is inspired by. It's actually a sheep fragrance, which I am personally not a big fan of sheep fragrances. To me, they either smell really earthy or kind of soapy, but I know that the reviews on this fragrance have been outstanding. I have not had a chance to actually smell this for myself. I'm going to Hermes next week. Well, I think I'm going to Hermes the week you're seeing this video, so I'll make sure to leave my first-hand experience in the comment section. I'll pin a comment down there because by the time you're seeing this, I will have had the chance to actually smell this fragrance for myself, but I know that the reviews have been outstanding so far. And I can tell you that the packaging I am blown away by, because the packaging is actually inspired by their iconic Collier de Chien bracelet, which you know I am a big fan of. So as I mentioned, it is a so-called sheep fragrance, and the notes include oak wood, patchouli, butterfly lily, and tangy miracle berry, which does make it sound a little bit more juicy than a regular sheep fragrance. Sheep fragrances are tend to be quite clean and, as I mentioned, in my opinion, soapy, but based on what I've heard, it sounds a little bit more complex. If you have had a chance to smell this fragrance, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to hear from you and hear what you think, because fragrance is so personal. I feel like every single person will have a different opinion and a different experience with the same bottle of fragrance. And speaking of bottles, it does come in two different sizes, both of which are actually refillable. So you can pick it up in a 60 ml bottle, which will set you back 116 euros, or it also comes in 100 ml. And then there's also a bar soap and a body cream included in the lineup. So if you're looking for a new fragrance, this might be something nice for you to give a sniff. And with that out of the way, let's move on to some of the new bags. And let's start with a brand new style, because a lot of the designs that we'll move on to are basically just new iterations of classic designs, but this is a brand new launch, which is the so-called Faubourg Express bag. This is something that's going to be available in 2 different sizes in evergreen, and I would not be surprised if at one point they also launched this particular bag in matte alligator or lace croc. I think this bag would really suit being offered in exotic leather, but this is a really simple, stripped down, user-friendly design, which does have kind of a vintage retro feel to it. To me, it resembles slightly, it's kind of like a bag between the Plume, which is a bag that is making a comeback, and the Victoria bag. Now, the Victoria is one of my favorite understated designs from Hermes, but if you could never really get on with the Victoria, if you felt that it was a little bit too big for your liking, because the Victoria is definitely more of a tote bag shape, this might be something a little bit more petite that you would enjoy having in your collection. The bag features 2 longer straps, which will definitely allow you to wear this over a thicker, heavier coat, which of course is important when it comes to a full winter collection. You have to keep in mind that there are different criteria that a bag has to meet. Obviously, in the full winter, you'll wear thicker layers. So you want to make sure that if you invest in a bag, a shoulder bag, it's something that you can put over your shoulder, even if you have on a chunky sweater and a coat. So I do like the fact that this bag features a longer, really comfortable shoulder strap, not really a shoulder strap, more of a handle that allows you to carry this bag over your shoulder. And then the only other detail other than the handles is this large, almost trunk lock that allows you to fully secure the bag. I personally really like this detail. It's not something that we see from Hermes a lot. In fact, it kind of reminds me of a detail that you'd see on a Moina bag, but if you are partial to Hermes, if you love their more understated, unique bags and you're looking for a grab and go, very easy to use and style bag, this is going to be around. My educated guess is that it's going to be somewhere around $6,000 to $7,000 in the smaller size, and maybe between $700 and $8,500 in the largest size. But again, that's just my educated guess. I'm not sure about that. If you are, again, please feel free to share any insights in the comment section with us. I don't think it's the most innovative, most groundbreaking bag, but I do see how it would fill a gap in your collection. But I do think it is more of an acquired taste. And then another bag that is brand new for this season, a bag that also made an appearance on the runway. I have to be honest, I am kind of over mini bags at this point, but this is one that I adore the look of. I think this is a really special collector's bag. Obviously, it is not the most user-friendly bag to have in your collection, considering how tiny it is. But if you're looking for a show-stopping, incredibly elegant and refined piece, one that pays tribute to the brand's equestrian heritage, but doesn't look too obviously Hermes, this would be a great piece to have in your collection. It does come with a longer strap that allows you to carry this bag either over your shoulder, or you can actually style it as a belt bag, which is not my favorite look. I do understand where they're coming from, but personally, I don't really think that this shape looks best when it's being worn around the waist, but you can do that. And of course, my preferred way of styling it would be to carry this bag as a little handheld clutch by this incredible metal detail that serves as the handle of the bag. Now we are getting more and more bags with metal details. There's also a Kelly bag coming that features a part metal and part leather handle, which I think should also be launching for full winter, but the Charnier bag does have this incredible ring detail, which does make it quite special. I have seen this in goatskin, and that's pretty much it. But if you are an Hermes collector and you love these really special eye-catching creations, this is definitely something that you do not want to miss. If you're a fan of Hermes's iconic to-go range. You'll be very happy to hear that there is a new style joining the family. If you have no idea what to-go pieces are, they're basically Hermes' take on a wallet on chain. Of course, the craze started with the Kelly to-go, then we got the Constance to-go, and at this point there have been several iterations of these wallet-inspired, very simple, user-friendly camera bags. They are somewhere between a wallet and a more complex, more refined bag, but these are things that you can either use as a wallet, or they do come with a removable shoulder strap that allows you to actually carry them as a shoulder or a crossbody bag. And we are getting the so-called 1957 to-go bag, which is actually quite reminiscent of a men's bag that I think launched in the early 2000s. It was the Steve bag, which does come in several different sizes and width, and it features the very same equestrian-inspired loop detail as the 1957 bag does. So if you are looking for a more masculine take on a to-go piece, this I think is something that you will really enjoy the look of. It seems a little bit larger than the Kelly to-go, and it also features, believe it or not, an adjustable shoulder strap. We are also getting a mini Kelly with an adjustable shoulder strap this season, so it seems Hermes has been listening to their customers' feedback. People have been begging Hermes to launch adjustable shoulder straps, and we are definitely seeing more and more of them, and this is a great example of that. It's going to be available in Epsom in a handful of neutral shades. I don't think this is a design that they'll launch in the most colorful options, but if you're looking for a really simple, understated alternative to a camera bag, this I think is something that you might want to play around with. Again, it's not the most innovative design, but it is something that I feel a lot of people would be able to take advantage of. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, something that got me very excited. I don't think it's something that I personally will be asking for, but I have to be honest with you, I am a huge fan. And as I mentioned earlier, Hermes might be listening to us, especially me, because I did a video a couple of years ago at this point. In fact, it's been at least a couple of years. Long story short, I did a video on Hermes pieces that I would love to launch in collaboration with them. So if Hermes came to me and said, hey, we want you to design something for us, I made a video on what pieces I would actually come out with. And one of them was eerily similar to this new monochromatic Constance bag. So what I said in my video is that I would love to launch a Constance bag that is inspired by the original design, but instead of the hardware being offered in metal or in a lacquer finish, I would love for it to be wrapped in leather, in the same leather and the same color as the body of the bag. And believe it or not, Hermes is actually launching these monochromatic mini Constance bags in a handful of different colors. So it's going to be available in green, in navy, in red, and black. And I would not be surprised if this bag was also available in gold, so some of the more classic beloved shades for the Constance. So far I have only seen it in the mini Constance, but one thing is for sure, I am extremely blown away by this bag, considering that I pretty much designed it. So it is a really cool bag. I feel like a lot of people don't love the Constance, not because of its functionality, but because of how loud and in your face the H hardware is. And while this bag obviously does still feature the H hardware, it is done in a much more subtle and understated way, especially considering that it matches the color of the bag perfectly, so it blends in just a little bit more, and it is a really quite a spectacular bag. However, it's exclusively available in goat skin, which I do think is because it would be quite hard to wrap the hardware in a leather that is more stiff. Obviously goat skin is extremely soft and malleable, so I assume craftsmen have an easier time manipulating it around the sharp edges of the hardware. But regardless, it is an incredibly special bag, and it's something that I would love to have a chance to play around with. Again, it's not something that I will be, you know, running out to put in a wish for, but if I had the chance to play around with it, I certainly would. And then another Constance bag, which I definitely don't like as much, nearly as much as the monochrome Constance, is a new printed take on the Constance bag. So they are doing the mini Constance in Swift leather with palladium hardware with this sort of tartan scribble print, which I don't really get. I do know that Hermes loves their checker print and these sort of tartan inspired patterns. This one, while it does look really wintry and it does remind me of the Scottish Highlands, I personally would not spend a lot of money on this. And as we know, Constance bags are really quite pricey, especially ones that are offered in more unique finishes. Obviously, I'm sure that the craftsmanship and the way these bags are printed is exquisite, but to me, it just feels a little bit too juvenile, almost like a kindergarten project. But if you like these more quirky designs, just know that the Constance is going to be available in a couple of new iterations. And speaking of quirky, I could not end this video without briefly mentioning one of the most playful launches from Hermes for this current season, which is definitely made for the true Hermes connoisseur, for the diehard collector, because Hermes is launching a new cocktail trunk for fall winter, which is actually fully stocked with glassware from Saint Louis. Now, if you have never heard of Saint Louis and you're wondering, what does Saint Louis have to do with a video on Hermes? Saint Louis is a brand owned by Hermes, Hermes the conglomerate. Saint Louis was not actually founded by Hermes. They have been around a lot longer than the brand Hermes. I think Saint Louis was founded in the late 1500s, and a couple of years ago, well, a few years ago at this point, they were acquired by Hermes as a smaller French heritage glassmaking brand. I do own a couple of pieces from Saint Louis. I used to own a lot more, but when I split from Pi's other dad, a lot of the pieces went to him, rightfully so, because I don't drink alcohol, whereas he does, and obviously they do the most beautiful bar and glassware, and they are not things that I would personally take advantage of. Anyway, long story short, if you're wondering why the trunk doesn't include glassware from Hermes, it's because the Saint Louis glassware range is a lot more expensive and their pieces tend to be a little bit more ornate, which I feel does go better with the sort of look and feel of this cocktail trunk. So if you're looking for something truly eye-catching, this is definitely a very fun piece to end your day with if you are into your dirty martini. And then last but not least, let's talk about the newest seasonal take on the HAC. The HAC is of course the ancestor of the Birkin and the Kelly bag. It is one of the very first bags that Hermes ever launched, and the original purpose of this bag was for equestrian to store and carry their grooming essentials, their helmet, basically their equestrian pieces. So these bags were a lot bigger at the beginning than they are now. At this point, they are offered in several different sizes and people tend to buy them for traveling. I personally would not, because I find them way too big and way too heavy unless you're really tall and you can pull off a really large and in charge bag. It's not something that, in my opinion, makes for a convenient and user-friendly travel bag. But to each their own. And if you do love your HAC, you'll be happy to hear that they have one that's actually inspired by the brand's heritage, their harness and saddle making. The reason I gave you a little bit of a rundown on the history of the HAC is so you have a better understanding where the inspiration for this particular new take of the HAC comes from, because it actually features this almost sort of patchwork details, and each detail is inspired by different facets of harness making, and the bag is put together by puzzling or piecing these pieces of puzzle together to create the overall look of this almost like a work in progress creation. I felt like this was a really long way of saying that they do have a new saddle bag inspired take on the HAC, which is called the HAC on Selle. So if you do love your HAC, this is a very special take on it that's going to be available for full winter this year. And my friends, this brings us to the end of today's video on the latest Hermes bag launches for fall winter 2024. And let's be honest, 2025, because Hermes is known for a lot being on time isn't one of them, so I would not be surprised if some of these pieces did not actually start hitting stores until the new year. But I hope you enjoyed it. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Please let me know what you think about these pieces. Are you adding any one of these to your wish list? Have you had a chance to play around with any one of them perhaps? Let me know what you think, and while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I will see you back here with a new video really soon.